What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tisha the Brave. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are doing okay. Yes, as you can see by the title, today I'm talking about how I met my ancestors. Never in my wildest freaking dreams would I ever had imagined like this is actually happening to me, or this has happened to me, or this is actually, I don't know what to say, but you know what I'm saying. I would have never thought this would have happened to me because of the way I was raised, okay? So just generally speaking, I was raised super Christian. Like, death is asleep. That is it. The soul returns to God. No ancestors are looking down on you. No nothing. We're gonna wait till judgment day, and then you know the people will rise, and then they'll be cast into either heaven or hell. That's the way I was raised. That's what you have to understand, okay? Since 2021, I left religion, and I left everything that came with it, which was like doctrine, which was like the Bible, which was like, I left everything. So the way I live my life now is wherever the divine leads me, I'm gonna go there. So I'm saying that because that's exactly how it happened for me. So this is how I met my first ancestor, which is my grandma, my mom's mom. Now, I'm very aware that there are people in my family who are probably watching this right now and probably like, what? And well, story of my life. That's just, when you're a Pisces, shit like this just happens, okay? My uncle in Mauritius passed away, and within my culture, the person that passes away gets buried the next day, if it is in Mauritius, happening in Mauritius. So what happens is like my family, no matter if they're in Mauritius or not, like they gather immediately. Like literally it's immediate. People gather at your house. As soon as they hear the news, they come to you and they help you and they try to comfort you. So that's exactly what my cousins did. My cousins came to our house to check on my mom, and we all gathered together, and you know, we were just helping, making sure my mom was okay. Once we kind of like settled down, we started talking about other things. And so my cousin then, who we call the family historian, he then like tells me, look, I've got like 7 generations back of like our grandparents, basically 7 generations back, and I think it would be cool if you kind of like looked into their natal charts, and then we can like discuss the history and the natal charts. And he already knows that I'm into astrology, and all my other cousins know I'm very into astrology, so we all looked at their natal charts together. And I've come to the point now where like natal charts are kind of like very intuitive for me. I can look at a natal chart and basically can tell the story of this person, and that's exactly what happened when I was looking into my grandma's chart. Now I've always been very fascinated with this particular grandma because my mom has told me about her, and I felt like a lot of her traits were similar to me. And sure enough, when I saw her natal chart, I was like, yo, she is me, I am her. And she's a Leo sun and a Pisces rising. I'm a Leo rising with a Pisces sun. So I was just like, bitch, we're the same person. And so a few days goes past, and you know, I am now feeling very emotional about something. Now the funny thing is I don't remember what I was emotional about, but it was probably something along the lines to do with like feeling very lonely. Because that, I'm gonna be honest, when you're a very spiritual person and the rest of your house are not like you, especially because I've left the faith and everybody's kind of like still in the faith, like for me it feels very lonely. And I practice the things that I practice, you know, I do tarot, and I also like meditate, and I have crystals, you know, this moldavite, everybody get moldavite right now. Literally, like it's difficult, and I felt like I've always been the black sheep in my family generally, so I felt very alone. And when I was meditating, because that's the way I shift my energy, when I was meditating, I started seeing memories that weren't mine. And how do I explain that? Like basically I saw like the village in Mauritius that my family are from, and I kept seeing it in like a way that I've never seen it before. So it was like it was older, right? And I started realizing that I was seeing memories that weren't mine, right? And instinctively I just said out of my mouth like, grandma? And maybe it's because she was on my mind, maybe it was because I saw the natal chart, but I was like, grandma, are you like, what is this? And then I saw her face in like red, because I was doing a root chakra meditation, So just so you know, if you know me at all, if this is not your first time on the channel, I've talked about like how when I meditate in specific chakras, right, I can see the colors. This is just what happens with me. Those are the colors that come to me when I'm like meditating. And so me seeing her made a lot of sense in red because I was doing the root chakra meditation. Root chakra is red. So I was like, fuck. I'm like, yo. And so I go to the person that I always go to for spiritual counsel, which is my good friend Dee. She's got a YouTube channel that you should definitely check out. She teaches people about tarot. I'll put it down here so you guys can see it. All right. So I go to her and I say to her, like, dude, like, I think my grandma's trying to reach out and I don't know how to fucking like deal with this. I've never dealt with ancestors before and I know you have. So like, can you do a reading on like can we do a reading on this, like ask spirit if it's okay, you know, kind of thing. We went through the whole thing. And so she said, absolutely, like, let me just ask if this is okay first, like for me to like come here in this space and do this. And I'm like, yeah, man, like, let's do it. So she lives in New Jersey and I live in London, so we did this via like Zoom or some shit like that. And we did it and she recorded it all for me. So I actually still have the clips of like some of the things that she was telling me about. And dude, I was freaking out because I felt like it felt real, like my grandma was here and the energy was so heavy. And I was like, shit, like she's here, she's trying to look after me, she's trying to tell me that I'm not alone. Because when the cards were happening, she was like, you know, you're being told that you're not alone. Like, you know, like she also felt the same way. She felt very alone. She felt kind of like abandoned by her own ideas in her mind. She wouldn't be able to say certain things. And I'm like, bitch, I felt that. I felt that. So I pretty much got confirmation from like a reader, someone that I really super trust as well, that basically she was here to help me with not feeling alone, because like that's how I've always felt in this family. And no shade to my family, it's just that they are not going to go through the same spiritual stuff that I'm going to go through, because everybody goes through spiritual stuff very differently. Like, I get dragged into spiritual shit a lot. And also, I'm an 8th house sun. So you already know that the Scorpio and the Pisces shit together, that's something else, man. That's something else. Okay? So that was essentially how I met my first ancestor. That's how I met my grandmother. This story is wild. But the next person I met, she is a very ancient woman, okay? A very ancient Indian woman. So Mauritian people are kind of like people from Trinidad or people from Guyana. So you have like Indian people, you have black people, you have white people, you have Chinese people. You have people that are from all 4 of those places, like me, myself. Like, I'm very mixed. My heritage is predominantly black and Indian. And in Mauritius, even though it's a country in Africa, there is a lot of racism that I have received when I'm over there. It's an unspoken taboo thing, but it's a real thing. There is a lot of racism in Mauritius, especially if you're from there, okay? If you're a tourist, ain't nobody gonna treat you like... I got a lot of racism from a lot of Indian Mauritians growing up in the UK, because there's a lot of, obviously, Indo-Mauritians here. Growing up, it was hard, it was difficult, because like a lot of people just told me straight up that I didn't look Mauritian, which was so interesting to me, because people like me literally exist, and it's so weird and wild because there's so many of us, and when they want to, they will claim you. So I could do a whole other video on that, but like, to be honest, you need that context to understand why I met this particular grandma. Okay, she comes from my dad's side. I nickname her Dadi because that is the Hindi name for grandma, because she is an Indian woman, and via tarot I did some stuff and I realized that she's Hindi, you know. Okay, so there's that. But generally, this is how I met her. She's hilarious, by the way. Her energy is kind of like Capricorn, Aries. That's what I assume, because I know nothing about this lady other than the fact that her energy is quite blunt, especially when I do tarot with her. Bro, she blunt. Anyways, so this is what happened. I was fixing myself a meal, okay? And I was saying to myself, ooh, I have all these cool kind of like Middle Eastern kind of like spices. So I was going to do something like Middle Eastern influenced, okay? I've got falafel, I've got this, I've got that. I'm going to make something Middle Eastern and consume it. And I like those flavors, okay? So I was doing that. Tell me why. Tell me why instead of doing all of that, that I was being pulled to make a curry. Tell me why. It was so funny. Like, it was like, I had all these spices. Oops, no, I don't want to use that anymore. I instinctively made a curry, and it was like I was being pulled to do it. I was being pulled and pulled and pulled. And I was saying to myself, I stopped myself in the middle of it, and I was like, is someone there? Huh? Is someone there? Who is this? Like, and I because I already had this thing with like my grandma, I was now open and receptive to receiving what other blessings were gonna come my way. Little did I know, this woman right here, she don't play. So I was like, okay, bet, we're gonna figure out what happened. Cool. So I assumed automatically that this is an ancestor, and at this point I got my first set of tarot cards. I was excited to use them, so I'm like, cool. I'm like, who is this? So I did all of this stuff. It's like, it's a grandmother, but she Asian, and it made sense because her energy just felt like she knew shit. And I got this message in my head where it's like, don't forget me. This is a part of you too. Like all that Indian, all the Indo-Mauritians that, like, you know, made fun of me and stuff like that, kind of made me suppress that side of myself, because they didn't see me as somebody who also had a bit of Indo-Mauritian in them too. They just saw me as black. And so it was like, this grandma was reminding me, like, this is also a part of you too. No matter what people say to you, this is also a part of you too. And I remember I saw her memories too. Like I saw her getting off the boat. She's very Asian. She's very, like, I don't remember her face particularly well, but I remember these memories were almost like in black and white or sepia or some shit. Like, it was so weird. But seeing memories and seeing other things is very, I'm a very visual person. This is why I always get weird ass dreams and shit. It's the same thing, you know. So but yeah, that's what happened. And then I did some tarot just to confirm certain things. She's Hindi, she's from my dad's side, and she's also here to teach me about boundaries. That's what she was telling me. I'm like, why are you here? She's like, I'm here to teach you about boundaries. And sure enough, she's definitely talking about boundaries. When I channel them every Wednesday, because that's the day of communication, she's always telling me to have boundaries. But do you want to know the wildest part about this whole story? Let me tell you the wildest fucking thing about this story, bitch. So just so you know, this ancestor Dadi, this woman, okay, she is funny, she's hilarious, and she also has like a sense, like, she's also like she's like a sense of humor, but she's also like a dark sense of humor, like also like a wild sense of humor. So bitch, tell me why randomly my friend talks to me. He's at this point like renewing, like he's building something, like he's building his own studio, right? And yo, like tell me why he sends me a picture of a poster of a half-naked Indian woman. And he was like, I don't know why, but I just found this, and I think my brother brought it here. I have no idea what this is. And I'm freaking the fuck out, because I'm like, yo, what? When I told you, like, this woman has a sense of humor, she really does. Because, like, there'll be shit that comes out and flying out of the tarot cards, and I'm like, all right, bitch, I get it. But, like, this was something the fuck else. Like, why the hell did you... why the fuck did you give me this? Like, this was so funny, and this was the best confirmation I ever gotten. Like, this was the best confirmation of like an ancestor being there for me that I've ever gotten. It was so fucking funny and wild, and I was like, I cannot believe it that one of my ancestors did this to me. But also, they also know that I have a sense of humor too, so I felt like, you know, Tisha, this for you too, bitch. And that's how I knew it wasn't the divine, it was actually an ancestor, because I don't see why the divine would give me half naked woman. Okay, I don't see that. I don't see why. But last but not least, this is probably the least interesting story, but I did meet my dad's mom, who I never heard much about growing up. My grandmothers, just so you know, like, my grandparents died before I was born. I only had one granddad, grandpa, which was on my dad's side, and I met him a few times before he passed away. And he passed away maybe at this point maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. But just generally, I never met any of my grandmothers, and I'm a woman that is like, that gets along with women, you know what I'm saying? And I've really wanted to meet like older women. For some reason, they really love me. Like, they're the ones that always want to like hug me and shit. And I'm kind of upset that I never got to meet any of my grandmas. Like, I really felt like they would have loved me and I would have loved them. But I do feel the love that they give to me every time I channel them. Bitch, you know when you're a Pisces and the Moldavite is not helping. My siblings are in this group chat with my dad's side of the family. I'm not in it because I don't really like group chats. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna, like, it's not, I ain't no shade against my family. I just don't like group chats. So they're in it. My sister like was like, oh my god, today would have been grandma's birthday. Like, oh my gosh. And then immediately I said, oh, she's reaching out, honey. There is no doubt in my mind that she is not reaching out. She is reaching out. So I literally was like, all right, cool, bet. Let's do her natal chart. I did her natal chart. Like I said, intuitively, I did her whole story, her whole life story. Then I started shuffling those cards and I was like, yes, 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 yes. Oh my God, she's amazing. She's incredible. This lady teaches me about the journey. She teaches me that the journey is so important. She went through so much, and I don't want to say how much she went through. I don't know if most of you know this, but I went through sexual abuse as a child from like ages 7 to 12 years old, and that was a really like rough moment in my life. Like growing up was really rough when people didn't understand you and stuff like that. And my grandma, she went through a journey. I'm not like mine, but she went through a really tough journey in general. And she taught me that the journey is so important about finding yourself. So throughout these ancestors that I have, all women, by the way, they're very lovely. And also, let me just shout out my best friend Paris, who I channel now and again, who has passed away 9 years ago. I channel him sometimes too, and he actually helps me a lot. He's very much like Dottie, the grandma with the boundaries, but he was an Aries, and so is she in my mind. So like it makes sense, you know. So I have my first grandma, who is helping me when I'm lonely, when I need reassurance that who I am is okay. And then I have my second grandma, who's teaching me about boundaries, because I'm a very big empath. And then my third grandma is teaching me about how much the journey matters and how much all the bad things come up to something good in the end, you know. So this is the reason why they came to me, and they came to me at different times. They came to me in different ways, and they all have very different energies. I just want to tell you that they all have very different energies. When I call them out every Wednesday and I do a tarot session on what they want to say to me and how they want to connect to me, I'm gonna tell you this right now. My grandma, the first one, my mom's mom, her energy is literally on my head. Like literally on my head. I feel this region every time. And then when I tell her to depart, there's there's Dottie, who is, you know, the one that talks to me about boundaries. Her energy is like a shooting like thing. It shoots down and up all the time, and I feel it in my knees. This is why I said that she's a Capricorn moon, because like the knees is the Capricorn sensitivity part. And then when my grandma, my dad's mom, talks to me, her energy is here and at the back of my neck, and I can feel it ticketing at the back of my neck. So whenever I tell her to come in, like she gives me energy here. So they all have very specific energies, and sometimes oh, and Paris is in the face. It's in the face. It's the Aries region. This is hard for me to say all of this, you know. I just wanted to say, like, this is not easy. Just because I'm talkative and I'm animated doesn't make this fucking easy. I know I have family abroad who watch me, who are not, like, you know, I come from a very, very Christian background. Like, my dad is a pastor. And it's the reasons why I used to call myself Tisha the Brave was because back in the day when this channel was all about freaking opinions and like me talking about shit that people didn't really want to talk about, or me having an opinion about a certain celebrity or this or that, like that was all for entertainment. That was about me just speaking about like things that I felt like nobody was going to talk about, like real topics, if you will. But now this shit is even more real to me. Like being Tisha the Brave means going against my family, going against my religious beliefs that I used to grow up in. Like this shit is real to me now. Like even wearing crystals and stuff like that is something that is, I'm going against people all the fucking time, but I have to live my truth. I have to live my truth. So if you're looking at me and you're like, yo, this is wild, like, you connected with your ancestors and this is not real, this is something in the figment of your imagination, I do not care, because I know what I'm going through, and this is part of my journey, and it's real to me. The energy does not lie, and I've had that chat with spirit, bruh. So yeah, anyways guys, that has been my video. This is not a how-to by any, this is not a how-to, please, this is not a how-to get connected to your ancestors. I don't know how I did it. It just happened. It just happened for me. Okay? But if you want to, I suppose if you just ask them to be there, they'll probably be there for you. So yeah, anyways guys, my name is Tisha Labrea. Thank you guys for watching this video. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.